everybody, hospitality friend Glenn here. Listen, we already know Actable gives you the power to profit, but now they're giving you more actionable insights to drive that profitability. Do me a favor, take a moment and check out hoteldata.com. You're getting set for budget season, right? And this new benchmarking data is going to help compare your hotel's performance for the rest of 2025 and into 2026. Please check out hoteldata.com or the classic actable.com. Have a great day and enjoy the show. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of No Vacancy Live. We got Anthony Melchiorri in the house today, and of course, I am Glenn Haussman. We really appreciate you staying here and learning with us, because we know your time is different. So we want you to share your time today, because we're going to be talking about timeshare today and how it overlaps with the hospitality industry. Something we haven't done in a while, Anthony, and I'm not sorry about my bad jokes. Those consistently happen.
You know what? I don't know if you thought about that before you came on, but that was against rules. It was almost not corny.
Thank you. Almost not corny. High praise from the man himself. This is
So I just have to, you're in your home studio. I'm in a hotel room as usual. My lighting stinks, and I'm always jealous of how beautiful your lighting is.
Thank you so much. And I want to tell everybody, now that we've moved to the pre-recorded format, I've got the benefit of creating the schedule and always having great lighting. And it's up to you if you want to decide, if I'm trying to figure out when Anthony's on the road, to make his lighting look bad because of my sad little ego. I don't put your thoughts in the comments below. Meanwhile, I'm excited because today we're going to be talking to someone we've never had the opportunity to talk with before. He's the president and CEO of ARDA. They are, of course, the association that is behind the legislative and regulatory agendas and public relations communication strategies for the timeshare ownership, vacation ownership, whatever you want to call it. Let's bring in Mr. Jason Gamel, president and CEO of ARDA. Jason, great.
Hey, good morning. Great to see you this morning.
Thanks so much. I love the tchotchkes that you picked behind us, and that's so the audio people know we should watch the video over here. That's pretty cool. Jason, what's it like being president of a cool association?
I tell you what, first of all, I wanted to say, Anthony, if you were in a timeshare unit right now, the lighting would be perfect. So just think of that for the future, okay?
Well, so that's more about you than me, because you didn't invite me to do any consulting for your timeshare. So I'm here working. So it's your fault, not mine.
Subtle hint, and I appreciate that. So perhaps we'll fix that one in the future. Well, I tell you what, Glenn, it's been fantastic. I've been part of the timeshare industry for 25 plus years now, and it's been my pleasure to be able to serve and be able to work not only in the industry and for the industry on behalf of our members, and also to be able to interface with the larger hospitality community in general. So honestly, it's fun every day I go to work. I wake up every morning with a smile. So what more can I ask for?
So one of the things I want to ask you, if you look 20 years ago and you look at select service or mid-level hotels, it was hit and miss. Nowadays, basically, all hotels are good because of the focus. And so when people say, well, that hotel chain is not good, there's very few hotel chains that aren't good. When you look at what you in the timeshare business, 20 years ago, it had a reputation. What is it like now, and what's changed?
Lots changed in 20 years. When you look at it, I think some of your comments are spot on. If you look at the way that developers and the development community looked 20 years ago, a lot of independent developers, quality control could be hit or miss. I mean, there's a lot of good independent brands out there, but you didn't have the same brand standards as you have today.
Yeah.
20 years ago, Marriott had been in the business for a bit. Disney had gotten into the business about 10 years prior to that. Same thing with Hilton. And really, even if you look at the Wyndham brand, at that point in time, it was Fairfield was the brand and just about to become Wyndham. And
Yep.
when you all of a sudden saw those brand standards come in, then you saw an elevation in quality and experience, the professional management, which timeshares always had, but it elevated it another level. And really, 20 years ago, you started seeing the changes that has led to so much consolidation in the industry today. And what you've seen is a whole different line of product and services than were going on in 20 years ago.
Yeah, and the industry has really changed dramatically in that sense. And to add on to your both your comments, the hospitality industry has done a great job at creating great products, which I think makes everybody better. And I've seen that expressed itself in the timeshare industries as properties have become more sophisticated and the complexes that are built are much more widespread. If you were looking right here at the behind me, the Wyndham Bonnet Creek, for example, which is on but not on Disney property. And it's a little piece of property buried in the middle. So for the audience, that's not actually Disney property, but it's surrounded by Disney property. There's one landowner that didn't succumb back in the day and got that property. So really great location, really great property. Orlando's home for all of the timeshares out there. How are people responding to it generally as customers? And I'm also curious as the ownership side, now that we're entering into a little bit of a decrease in hospitality and numbers, my guess is that it's a great investment for hoteliers looking to make sure they have a general income coming in every single day.
Yeah, so let's talk, Glenn, about the property behind you, because I think that's a great example of what you consider to be almost a phenomenal hospitality ecosystem, because you've got 6 buildings of timeshare, you've got 1 hotel tower in there, you've got some shared amenities or pools all over the place. But I think that last point you made is so important. You talk about the consistent visitor.
Yeah.
Really, the prepaid nature of the product makes this product one that you see occupancy rates, which this last year, general occupancy rates around 80% in
Mhm.
2024. You look at the way that people are going to use it because it's a use it or lose it situation. So they're going to vacation almost no matter what. And we saw that over the last 5 years. We saw people, even when the hotel or when hotels and timeshares were closed, they were demanding to go back to their timeshare. They saw it as their second home. So you see this evolution, first and foremost, of ownership equals commitment and
Right.
commitment to travel. And for the folks there and the hotel owner there at Bonnet Creek, for instance, you know that their concessions are going to continue to be steady. You know that their restaurants are going to be full because there's on premises dining options, which of course are always very nice. And if
Yep.
you look at what modern trends, you do see, and I think you mentioned something too about the way that travel itself continues to adapt. The timeshare industry has adapted right along with it. Fantastic experiences that come along with timeshare ownership are now almost like a regular expectation from owners over the last 5 to 7 years. Since the experiential nature of travel has really boomed, so have timeshare owners demanded that travel trend go right along with their timeshare ownership. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it sure is. And I love that like guaranteed income thing because you have to get into the psychology of the owner that's out there, right? So you got two things going. Number one, what Jason said, they're going to take their vacations. But also, the other psychological element is because it's prepaid in nature, they perceive the budget of their trip a little differently. So my guess is, Jason, I don't have the data in front of me. I just have 30 years of experience that they're spending more money in those restaurants and on activities on site than the traditional hotel guest may because of they feel like they have more cash flow.
Absolutely do. So I'm a timeshare owner myself.
Oh, cool.
80% of timeshare owners, kind of like me,
Mhm.
don't have a loan payment. You already bought it, you've already paid for it. And so you have your annual maintenance fee that I
Mhm.
pay every year. So when I look at what my accommodation bill is going to be, it was the same throughout the last 5 years, or with maybe minor increases as it was, heading into the pandemic versus post. We'll just use that as a base, like 2000 to 2025. It's predictable as to how much money I'm gonna spend on accommodations, and for my money, I know pretty much how much time I can also vacation on. So if I look at the way my vacation budget looks, it's the maintenance fee is the cost of the accommodation. It's set. I know what it's gonna be every year. Yes, I'd like to have a gallon of milk, maybe some cold cuts, some cereal inside the kitchen. Every once in a while, you might decide to go use the grills that are all around the amenity around the
Yep.
resort. But you're gonna go out and spend the money because most people go on vacation not to have to cook and clean and do all those things. So,
Totally.
yes, you're absolutely right. They don't now know they have a larger budget. Heck, I even honeymooned some 23 years ago in a timeshare. We took that timeshare and said, you know what? Instead of the money that we would pay in a hotel, we bought art. And he bought things that are still with us today. So there's just a difference shift in how you spend it. So that to me, it's just more money that's going to go into the economy, the local economy in particular, even if it isn't a grocery store, restaurants, souvenir shops, you name it. You do feel like you have more to spend because you're not spending as much on the accommodations every year, especially after that loan payment goes away.
Yeah.
I think it's also you mentioned something too, Glenn, that's important from a hotel owner perspective. Kind of like, well, we've dealt with this for so many years. The idea that if they weren't going to stay in a timeshare, they'd be in a hotel. Yeah, and now you look at it with all the other short-term rental options, you realize people are looking for all different types of accommodations. But hotel owners can see a couple of things when they've got timeshare in the area. One, it might even be somebody running an activities booth for them. That'd be a great source of income for a hotelier to be able to allow that to happen. You see the fact that with the timeshare nearby, there's people who have deals so that way maybe they can use your beach. Maybe there are activities that go on at the hotel that those timeshare owners can take advantage of. There's a lot of opportunity for timeshare and hotel collaboration. It's really a complementary thing as much as is really a one versus the other.
And from a customer standpoint, there's a pride in timeshare because when I talk to my friends that have timeshare, they don't tell me they have a timeshare. They say, I have a place in Florida, I have a place here, I have a place here, I'm going on vacation to my place. So there's a pride. It's almost like they have a second house and they feel, there's something about that. There's an ownership about that, that they don't see it as a timeshare. It's like, that's my place. And that's how they really, when I talk to them, I didn't even know it was a timeshare half the time.
Mhm. Oh, it's absolutely their second home. Yeah, they really feel they not only do really have ownership, they feel that ownership.
Right.
They're the ones who are really saying, "Yeah, this is my place. I go back every year, or I trade it and go to different places." Yeah, I met somebody just actually last week. He was talking about how they would go back to the same resort every year, and the reason why they did that is they got to know all the families around them. They got
Yeah.
to know the staff. They got to see their friends' kids grow up. It was just, that was one vacation they took a year. It might not be every vacation they take a year was
Right.
in a timeshare, but that one in particular really felt like they had a second home somewhere on the beach, and they really took pride in it. And, that really shows when you see people as to how excited they are to go on vacation and how personal it is. And for the 10 million timeshare owners that are out there in the United States,
Million.
yeah, it's kind of a staggering number, 10 million owner families here in the US alone. And they also really, when we do our research and take a look at just how happy those owners are, you realize that 90% of those timeshare owners have a happy timeshare ownership experience. And that's a fantastic thing to see.
So that 10 million, where's that number compared to 5 years ago or 10 years ago? Is it up or is it down?
That number, interestingly enough, is a little bit up for about 10 years, but it stayed pretty consistent right around that 10 million family level. And I think that shows you that there's an ecosystem of people who are buying, those who may pass on their timeshare ownership to their kids and kind of evolve it that way, or people who decide to, just kind of get out of the timeshare product altogether towards the end when maybe they aren't vacationing the same way they used to. And so the way that new people come into the system versus the way people continue to stay and maybe upgrade their ownership throughout the years to meet their vacation lifestyle, the numbers stay pretty consistent.
So I know back in the day, the maintenance fees would go up and up and up, and that was the biggest complaint for people, the maintenance fees. So how do you guys manage that where your expenses go up, but you have to really maintain that because a lot of the timeshare people, they're on a budget. This is their budget for the vacation. And now every time it goes up, they're, they have a question. So how do you manage that? In the hotel business, you can charge $99 today and $999 tomorrow,
Correct.
right? Your maintenance fees, you can't do that. So how do you manage that?
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's a balancing act for sure because you're absolutely right. You got a value proposition that when I bought in, yeah, I knew that maintenance fees could go up, and you may see them go up 2 to 4% a year. There's cost of inflation, which you've seen all over the last 5 years. You've got cost of materials, goods and materials, because timeshares, in order to keep those timeshares looking the same as they do from year to year to year, that maintenance fee helps do it, as well as building up reserves, just like you would if you were in a condominium building. You're looking to need reserves for capital improvements. So you do have a world where you need to make sure you've got enough money to cover all those expenses. You pay for that professional management as well, and also to keep it balanced so that way people don't see that maintenance fee increasing and becomes unaffordable. Yeah, a lot of the way is, you got really have to have boards. And what's unique about timeshare in this hospitality world, for one, besides those which over the last several years, we've seen a lot more people working from home. And so you see people working on the road, which, in a multi-bedroom unit, well, timeshares often are, it works well. But that, it's pure leisure play. And when you look at a leisure product and you look at those expenses, people have to be really good about budgeting. They have to be really smart about it. And they have to do a great job of predicting the future, which is something that those management professionals are good at doing.
Yeah, I had a great time spending a week in a timeshare in Orlando a year and a half ago. And you're right, because I wake up too damn early because I'm old and everyone can sleep in the other bedrooms while I was out either in the living room kitchen area or out on the massive balcony in the morning. And in Florida, you can still enjoy outdoor time in the morning during the summer months. Yeah, it was a great timeshare producer, Suzanne is saying. All right, so everybody's really doubling down on experiences now,
Yep.
Jason, right? It's all about the doing and the having access to stuff. So, how is your industry kind of moving along to make, to attract and retain customers through that lifestyle and experience kind of venue?
So
Thing?
we go back to that 10-year mark because it's a pretty solid mark to look at. There was a lot of innovation in the industry. Specifically, one company in particular, Diamond Resorts, really had a model, which is now part of the Hilton Grand Vacations family. They really saw experiences as driving owner retention and also a reason why people wanted to remain an owner or even upgrade their ownership. They started a platform that really showcased the type of experiences that owners can have through their timeshare ownership.
Yeah.
Strong partnerships with country music stars, strong partnerships with sporting events. It started with the Diamond International Tournament of Champions, which is now the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions. It's the kickoff LPGA event of the year. It kicks off in Orlando in January. All the past winners of the LPGA come there and are invited along with a number of celebrities. Owners are invited as well. And you end up having hundreds of owners having a private golf lesson with Annika Sorenstam, which is awesome. That they experience great in-room culinary dining experiences because of the full kitchens that exist in timeshares. They bring in celebrity chefs, cook the meals right there for you in your own unit. You have all these amazing things that take place that your access to the ownership. As a matter of fact, because of the tie-in, and I think this is a real important tie-in, business tie-in over the last number of years between hotel loyalty rewards programs and the timeshare divisions. Well, let's take, for example, Marriott Bonvoy. You can go right on there and use your Bonvoy points to get a hotel room or rent a Marriott timeshare. You could also convert your ownership into points that then give you an opportunity for experiences, such
Yes.
as going to the Super Bowl. I mean, you could do all these things. Yeah, that you can do with your ownership to have an experience that you might like or may absolutely love that you're not getting anywhere else. And
Right, Jason,
remember,
that's why I use the word access, because I really think that that's where we're at right now when it comes to things. People want the bragging rights from their vacation. They want to have things that others can't get. And a lot of people can spend money to get things, but they can't get access to things. That's why something like you're talking about, I think, is so critical for overall customer success stories.
yeah, it's great. The access is key. The opportunity for them to take advantage of it, whether you like to or not. But that is absolutely right, Glenn. It's the access. It's that. that
I think access has always been the engine that drives travel, right?
mm,
It's we all go to Italy or New York and you see the things everybody else sees. But if I can get into some place that somebody else can't, it's very TikTokable and Instagrammable. That's what everybody wants today, right? Everybody wants access. I always say I don't care about money and power, I care about access. I just want connections. And and when you have somebody, like you said, that family that went to that one place and knew all the families and knew like that was their home. That was they had access that other people didn't have because they had connections other people didn't have.
yeah, it's so true. And that to them, there's a sense of pride and there's a sense of value, right? When you get done with that, you realize that my hard-earned money was put to work for something that these amazing memories that you built up over the years
Yeah.
that you couldn't afford your own place. It was too expensive to buy a place of your own. But you bought a place of your own, you just didn't buy it all year round.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing that I find really interesting is while we know Hilton Grand Vacations, we know Wyndham, which is represented over here. We know Westgate, some of these major companies that are out there. You tend to think that it's as branded as the typical hotel business, but something like two-thirds are still independent properties. That was a really surprising number to see. I would have thought we would have been a lot further down the route of consolidation. So generally, what's going on in the industry with that independent nature, with consolidation and all of that, and how is that reflecting the change of what's going on in the industry?
There is, like you pointed out,
Yeah.
2/3 of timeshare resorts don't have a hotel flag on them or
Spot.
a hospitality flag. It's a really amazing story because, you think about the timeshare industry really started in the United States in the '70s, so it's
Yeah.
still a relatively young industry. But some of these places where these independent resorts were first put down are in locations that you could never find affordable land in. You're looking up at the Cape, for instance. You look at some amazing resorts that have existed for years where owners have that extreme sense of pride. And there's some really high-end stuff. And I'll brag on one resort operator that I had the chance to go spend some time out in Breckenridge. This is Breckenridge Grand Vacations.
Yeah.
They've got 3 resorts on the mountain themselves. And when I say these resorts are five-star properties, they're some of the most beautiful resorts you've ever seen with ski in, ski out access right at the base of Peak 8 in Breckenridge. And you look at and they're building a fourth, which will be a hotel, timeshare, whole ownership, which is another great model of mixed use. So that way you have a little bit of everything to support the hospitality ecosystem. It's really great. But at the same time, these resorts are getting a bit older and they have different needs necessary. I mean, they're dealing with similar issues that some of the larger brands do. Everyone deals with cost of labor going up, things like that. But when you look at what they bring to the table, it's usually it could be very much owner run and operated. So you're looking at people who've got need skills to be able to actually run the resort or maybe just have 1 or 2 employees. And for us at ARDA, we've actually spooled up a whole meeting series and education series in order to try to bring these folks together and really help educate, get them to network, understand what similar resorts are going through as they go through a aging process, or even in our world, make a decision of whether or not the timeshare resort will continue as a timeshare resort from this point on.
Yeah, we had one timeshare on Long Island out east at a very, very well-known hotel. And the new owners came in and they wanted to redo everything. And it took them a long time to figure out how to connect emotionally with the owners there in order to achieve all of the goals to create something that was better for everybody in there. So after a long life of property, there is an opportunity to kind of like reinvent them. But one way you guys are reinventing things, it seems like people are getting younger out there that are buying the top share. So you're reinventing your audience kind of at the same time too, and they're probably looking for different type of value than that 1970s crew did.
Absolutely, you're correct, and we've seen that. 57% of all current timeshare owners are Gen Z or millennials. 2/3 of all new purchasers fit that exact same
Yep.
demographic of people who are buying.
Wow.
And you're right. They're no longer, and I think Anthony pointed it out, when you look at those people that go year after year, they still exist. But people now see their resort, even though they've got incredible amenities on the resort where you could hang around 4 days if you wanted. They see that resort just as much as the launch pad of all the great experiences they're going to have. And they still see them as, and I believe as the younger generation grows up, has families or start traveling either multi-generational, which is a new product that the Holiday Inn Club Vacations folks just launched. They launched houses that are timeshare that
Yeah.
sleep 20.
What?
These yeah, you think about these are I mean, they're amazing homes. They are multiple bedrooms, as you can imagine. I've never seen a dining room set for 20 in a house before, but it exists. So if you look at sort of the great things that people are looking for in those amazing rentals where they're taking a
Right.
multi-generational travel or just large families and friends, they exist now as part of timeshare resorts.
Wow.
And so you see the evolution, which is great, meeting consumer demand. And when you look at younger generation, it may not be for that quite yet. Those millennials are looking at that particular house. But when you start thinking about the way they travel, especially once kids are in the picture, it usually changes the dynamic from crashing on somebody's couch to really wanting that extra bedroom. Because again, I don't know about the both of you, but my wife doesn't see it as a vacation if my 2 kids are sleeping in the bed right next to us.
No, you're totally right about that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. We just had this conversation last night, me and my wife. We're going to Portugal in the fall, and I had thought we were all going, but apparently me and my wife are going. But I was like, My wife was, I don't want this 5-star extravagant vacation. I just want a regular vacation. And I was like, well, I'm not sleeping in the room with my kids. My kids are 26 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, it's time for everyone needs privacy, so you either get into a second room or I need something different.
She was like, well, we're now going with them. But if it's so, what's the big deal if we all slept in one room? I was like, they're 26.
Right.
Yeah. They don't wanna
No.
see that anymore. They don't wanna see mom and dad waking up
Yeah.
in the morning, walking around,
My friends went on a golf vacation. I wasn't there that year, and they shared a room. I was like, dude, you're adult 50-year-old men. What are you doing sharing a room?
Yeah, it's really funny to say that I try not to share a room anymore, except with my oldest friends in the world, the ones that knew me like when I was like when I was in single digit.
Those are my high school friends. I'm not sharing a freaking room with them.
Well, I only do it because I'm a sucker. I keep telling them get their own rooms, but they're like, you always get the deals. I'm like, screw you. All right. People are getting younger and they're probably more tech savvy. So they're expecting more things with technology. Ownership is probably leveraging technology as well to find more success. So how are these two groups kind of coming together to find something digital that's successful for everybody?
We're finally starting to see that evolution. The one thing that I realized in the travel industry, travel is just almost as much tech as anything now. The expectations of that generation to be able just to simply pull up an app on their phone, make reservations, check out experiences, book things, understand it, digital keys. It's not fully there yet in the timeshare industry. I think that's something that this industry has evolved a little slower because you end up with very complex reservation systems with all the different types of ownership, all of the options that exist between exchange, rental. It's just not so easy to plug in, just like it is from a hotel reservation system and take software that exists today, plug it in and go. So we've been evolving with that. And I think you're starting to see everything from, AI, the effects of artificial intelligence on what's going on in our business. It's the ability to be able to take data and information. 'Cause if you think about this for 1 second, I think this is a cool fact.
Yeah.
Once a timeshare owner buys their timeshare, they've got a loan. You think of the information the developer now has on that customer. First of all, I have all your personal data because you have a residential mortgage that you just took
Right.
to buy your timeshare, right? So everything that you need to do that, I got that information. Then I know how you travel. Yeah, I know what your travel patterns are. I know where you're
Right.
going. I know how many people generally are going with you. I'm noting purchases. I think Disney does an amazing job of that. They always have tracking you wherever you are. Wear that little wristband. They know where you are in
Right.
the resort. They know your packing, what you're drinking. And so they're able to market services to you in a different way and understand you as a customer. And think when you take that information and then put it together with people who say, geez, what product would be best for you? Is there a different product? Is there more of the same product? How do I sell you more? And how do we make sure your vacations are even that much greater so we know you're coming back to our resort system? There's an awesome amount of data and information on that developer side that can really help enhance an owner's experience. The same way that we're finally developing into that world where people have very good workable apps to be able to access their ownership, to make reservations, to book experiences. Starting to do that really assimilates the timeshare ownership all into these younger customers' lives, which is huge.
I would figure that you still have a challenge with specific properties, and I'll use my brother-in-law's timeshare in Aruba as an
Mhm.
example because he's been there for 30 plus years. So my guess is some of these older established properties probably aren't thinking about the technological aspect of some newer independent properties and of course the branded properties. But I'm just guessing.
I would agree.
Yeah.
There's still a few. I bet you there still exist in the same in the hotel world, although most of them are brought on technology. There's still some people who are working off of manual reservation systems just because their ownership base is such that they might have a fixed week, fixed unit. They're kind
I
of
made a good living I made a good living for 10 years on Hotel Impossible, converting people's manual systems to
Mhm.
computers. So yeah,
Yeah.
that will exist. You know what's interesting when you said about timeshare that technology-wise, you're behind the hotel business. That's saying a lot because the hotel business is behind everybody.
well,
We
I
don't
think that
adapt technology till way too late, or we adopt it too early and then we throw it away.
yeah, it is something that is, it's a recognition. Look, when you look at the first and foremost for this business to get going, when it was conversions of failed hotel or condo hotels back in the 70s and 80s, which really got this business going. If you look at that, you realize that you've got so much opportunity because people were just, first of all, getting it going as a sales mechanism. Second, it was then you worried about how they were going to make the reservation. So you didn't build it thinking of the technology first. You really built it thinking about the way that people were going to so first to buy it. Now the technology is finally catching up. And so for the major players, a little bit easier for that technology, but a lot of companies that are part of our ecosystem that are doing things like you were doing, Anthony, that come up with technological solutions to be able to get people out of those areas. So that way they are into, a modern day world.
Yeah, and it'll be great when you're able to connect all that data, that you have to actually really being able to create opportunities and offers that align with the person's experiences in life. Because you already know they're coming to the property. So if you can figure out ways to connect with them ahead of time to upsell them on stuff, because they're already in the mindset of I'm not spending as much as the typical vacationer. I think that's really where we start to see a real win. Last question we have for you, because we got to kind of wrap up right now. Usually when we say last question, it leads to another 45 minutes, but we're gonna try to keep that under control.
Nice, that's good.
So, how are you thinking about internationally? Like I mentioned, my brother-in-law's got the place in Aruba. That's the Caribbean. I barely consider Caribbean international, even though it is. But how are people utilizing timeshare and exchange programs, maybe to go around the world and have different experiences? And how is that kind of changing your opportunities in the industry?
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 years ago, everyone must use their timeshare to exchange to Italy because if I take a look at any of my social media feeds, it seems like everybody
Yeah,
and their mother was in Italy. That's
yeah.
how we
Last year was Greece.
well, yeah, yeah, then Greece and away we go.
Yeah.
It's actually a real big growth area. You start seeing and it wasn't for a while, but now we're seeing the pickup in growth in areas in the Asia Pacific. You're seeing pickup in growth in South America has become again. Brazil's always had a little bit of development going, but Argentina, Colombia, you start seeing some. Mexico has always been a hotbed. If you look at Mexico, the 85% of all the purchasers of the timeshare product in Mexico, or what they call the loyalty programs or timeshares in the traditional sense, come from the United States.
Mhm.
So if you look at where people are going, the international growth is huge, not only because the US traveler wants to go there, but people are seeing value in places like South Africa. They're seeing even like new emerging markets like Vietnam starting
Yeah.
to look very much where a lot of resorts are coming there. Timeshare will soon to follow. Japan, that Hilton's dropped a couple of resorts in Japan, which is great to see that are they're going. Same thing with the Wyndham and the Accor brand acquisition. So they've got inventory all throughout Asia Pacific. It's exciting what's happening on the international side.
Wow. That's pretty cool. All right, so I'm gonna guess Orlando is the number one destination,
It
Vegas
is.
is number two, and then Mexico is number three. And I know I'm going from a city to a country, but that
Pretty close.
yeah, interesting. That's fascinating. What are you most excited about, Jason, going forward over here?
I'm so excited. Every year, I get more excited about what the innovation is looking like from year to year to year.
Fair.
And consolidation has changed the industry. I know it's changed the hotel business in a big way. It's changed timeshare in a massive way because at 1,500 resorts, consolidation it's much more impactful because of the way that the more resorts coming under similar systems. What I'm excited about are the opportunities for owners. If you think about this consolidation world,
Right.
when you get these bigger resort systems, it really ends up meaning there are more options for owners. And to me, that's exciting because the value proposition continues to get challenged over the years because owners keep demanding more and more and more. And that's fantastic. I mean, it's driving the industry to change. For me, the next 3 to 5 years will show more. We're doing some things that's really cool at the association. We talked about those independent resorts. We're
Yeah.
actually starting our own insurance captive.
Oh,
So that way we can allow resorts to participate that might not have the buying power of some of the big brands.
right.
When you go back to that maintenance fee, Anthony, you say, what can you do to control? We're trying to find solutions to control a big part of that maintenance fee, which is insurance. And for us, coming up with solutions like that and working through to find out how resorts and even potentially hotels could participate to be able to provide them options. I'm really excited about that part.
That's awesome. Anthony, anything you got for
Well, thank you. Jason's been very eye-opening. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks
This
for having me on.
it's fantastic. Really great meeting you. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I want to thank all of you guys for being here today. What a great show. We haven't done timeshare way, way, way too long. But in order to make sure you're up to speed on everything, make sure you download all of our shows on audio or video, wherever you get your podcasts, and connect with us. Please friend us on LinkedIn, etc., etc. All right, everybody, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you right back here next time. And remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and
Be kind to yourself.
all later. Bye, everybody.